Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm reviewing the first two episodes of WandaVision. This is starring Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, reprising their characters from the MCU of Vision and Wanda Maximoff, respectively. So I really enjoyed it. These two first episodes on Disney Plus. It's very much a classic sitcom, 1950s style feel to it. Definitely kind of reminded me of like the old show Bewitched, if any of you are old enough to ever watch that, if you've ever watched old reruns of Bewitched, because they're pretty much similar to their characters, but they're in a very, like I said, they're in a sitcom kind of style world. It's black and white. They live in this ideal suburban life, and and they have a laugh track going, so it's very comedic. And then and they're out there doing things, but they still have their powers. So Vision can still phase through things, and Wanda still could do has her witch abilities. And you see that in the first episode where they have a kind of a mix up where they're supposed to they have this important thing on the calendar. You can't remember what it is. It turns out that it's Vision supposed to be having his boss over because he's supposed to be talking about having a possible raise. And he has to impress his boss, but they don't realize that at first. And then Wanda thinks it's their anniversary, so she talks to her neighbor. She pals around with it, and she says like a get up for him when she gets home. It's supposed to be all romantic, but then he's like, "What are you doing? My boss is here." So it's a big funny mix up. But she can use her powers to quickly turn to a regular dress, And then they're like, "Oh my god, we need dinner for four, not just two." And so she has to get this food from her neighbor, and then she using her magic powers to make up this big feast for four. So it's kind of really interesting. So it is funny. It is the way you go. But then there's a very interesting part in that episode where they start asking them, they sit down for dinner and the boss starts asking them about their background, like, "Oh, where are you from? How long have you guys been married?" Basic questions that they seem to not answer. Like they don't know anything about their past, about how they used to be heroes. But when that is, I kind of as a one kind of as a freak out, and then the boss starts choking. Now it's interesting that the boss's wife, when he starts choking, and she tells Vision to help him, she keeps going, "Stop it, stop it, stop it." It looks like she's talking directly to Wanda. Like she knows that it's Wanda that's doing this to him, that she's using her powers to do this. So I thought that was very interesting. And then you get that hint on there that something's not right with this world for these first two episodes. And in fact, when the end of the first episode, you see it ends like a sitcom style thing, but then it pans out and you see somebody else, you don't know who, but in the regular world is watching this. So he's like, something strange is going on. So in the second episode, they're getting more involved with the life of the community. She wants to be part of this like kind of like I don't call it like a PTA or a community pride kind of thing organization, and he's trying to be more into like a planning committee. So she's getting together with all the women of the neighborhood and stuff, and she's trying to blend in. And but then you could tell that something's happening because right where she gets near a radio, hears somebody on the radio going, "Wanda, are you okay? Who's doing this to you?" So you feel like, okay, is that somebody? That's somebody from the real world coming through. Like you tell that she's doing something to this community. And then that's interesting. And then he's when he gets together with his planning committee, and they decide there's going to be this talent show to raise money for the community, and so they do it. And he's going to be a magician, and so he swallows his gum that screws up his inner workings, and so now he can. So now when they do this magic show, he's like drunk. Like he has like a drunk feeling, and so he's doing all these things that are kind of revealing who he is. Like he starts floating, and he starts facing through things, and she's got to use her powers to kind of cover it up and make it look like, oh, they're just really good magicians. So it was really kind of a funny situation. And then also during that second episode, they keep hearing this banging outside. They're like, "What's going on?" Like when they're sleeping at night, they hear this banging. And then later on that episode, they go outside, and then you see somebody coming out from the manhole, and he's like dressed in the like this gear for like for like germ warfare or whatever to protect himself. And she's like, "No, no, no!" And she freaks out. And then also to that episode, you start seeing colors everywhere, and she starts seeing his colors, the purple and red. So like something's happening, like something like seems like the real world is starting to blend into the world. So my theory of this is that she's, well, at least from the whole show, is that I believe that she's created this world for her, that she's kind of had this entire town, like she's kind of taken this town hostage, and she's created this world for herself to deal with the grief of Vision losing Vision, because in Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame she was erased, so she never got to grieve. So I'm wondering if we're gonna find out threads that either she had a nervous breakdown or something, and then that caused her to create this world for her, and so she can bring Vision back and live like this kind of ideal world in her mind that she was supposed to have with her and Vision. That's not real, and I think everybody, all these town people, are kind of imprisoned by her to live this, to kind of play along because they know that she's in charge, and if they went to, that she could like kill them essentially. So I think that's what's going on. Like when the wife was telling her stop it, or when there's another scene where other people kind of give her strange looks. I think they know that she's the one controlling it, and she's the puppet master, and like, oh, we better not piss her off. It was like kind of like an old Twilight Zone episode. If you ever saw, there was this kid who ran this town, and basically he had psychic power. He could read people's minds. So if people didn't think good thoughts about him, he had the power to send them away to another place, like, or which is supposed to be like death. So I think this kind of similar thing going on here. I think they were kind of inspired by that. So that's what I think is going on. Either that, or because they also run like commercials during the first two episodes, and one of the commercials, there's a guy modeling this watch, and then when you see the watch, there's a Hydra symbol on it. So it makes you wonder, like, okay, is Hydra controlling her? So it's possible maybe somebody else, either Hydra or some other sinister organization is controlling her, making her do this for some reason or other. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, but you can tell that what's going on is not real. So, and I wonder if the people messenger are from Shield, probably, or some that like FBI or somebody from the outside world trying to get contact her and say, hey, what is going on here? Trying to end whatever she's doing to this town to trap them in this like 1950s kind of world when the real world is still going on outside. So at least that's my theory of it. So these first two episodes are very interesting. They're great acting. It's very different, obviously, from what the MCU's ever done before. So I'm excited to see where the rest of the show's series goes. I don't think it's not too long of a series. Well, I think it's only supposed to be 7 or 8 episodes for the whole season. So I'm really interested to see where they go with this and how this links up with the rest of the MCU, how it's going to affect other MCU movies going on from now on. So okay, everyone. So that is my spoiler somewhat review of WandaVision for the first 2 episodes. If you've seen it, please leave some comments below and tell me what you thought. Once again, as always, thank you for tuning in, and please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much.